Today, I would like to talk about the F word. All right. And not the F word you think I'm going to talk about. I want to talk about the F word, fat. Now, I want to talk about this word because there seems to be some dangerous phenomenon that I'm noticing around this word. And maybe you've noticed this as well. But I'm noticing that being fat used to be looked at as bad, as wrong, as gross, as disgusting, right? Being fat used to be those things. And I guess as the year has progressed, or the years have progressed, being fat is no longer, gross or wrong, right? It's actually kind of celebrated now, which is a topic for another day. But using the word fat seems to have its own stigma around it and is disrespectful and is politically incorrect, right? Maybe you've been there and said it or had it said to you and it stirs something in you, right? And so we've kind of went from one extreme of, fat is wrong to another extreme where saying fat and using the word is wrong. And nothing good comes from living in those extremes. Whereas before you used to be shamed if you were fat. Now you're shamed for using the word fat. And there has to be this middle ground, right? And now when I say using the word fat, I don't mean mean people using it as an insult. I just mean general conversation or bringing it up or even health talk. We're not talking about the mean insults, the trolls on the internet trying to hurt people's feelings. So we got these two extremes. One was shameful for being fat. Now you're shamed for using the word fat if you're just stating facts. And this is starting to concern me, the way that it's just swung so hard to the other side, because as a coach, words are my weapon of choice. Words are my weapon of choice. I will use words every time as tools to help women lose weight, right? Words are what guide you on your weight loss journey to, break limiting beliefs, change your perspectives, toughen up your mindset, all the important things for longevity on this journey. So words mean a lot to me. And I don't waste my words. And every word I choose to use has weight to it. No pun intended. Has literal weight to it. It's important and it's hand chosen. And so when you use words, they either hurt or they help. And I think for so long, fat used to hurt. And now because it used to hurt, we've now said it's a no-no word. And now I actually think not using the word fat is hurting more than we think it's been helping by not using the word and using softer words like overweight or, need to lose weight, get healthy. Those are just soft ways of dancing around the fact that you are fat, right? And what good has avoiding the truth ever done? What do you think? What good has avoiding facts and avoiding the truth ever done for you in your life? Usually nothing except delay pain or delay discomfort, right? And so if I were to ask you right now, what does being fat look like? Picture it. Picture it. What does being fat look like? You could have pictured yourself. You could have pictured a relative. You could have just pictured some random imaginary friend in your mind. But either way, you pictured something. And everything that everybody just pictured is genuinely or generally going to look the same, right? We all kind of have the same definition of what being fat will look like. There's some excess body fat on you. Of course, it's a spectrum, a little bit versus a lot of excess fat. But we all know what having fat on you looks like. And so to me, as a coach, fat is a fact. Fat is just a fact. Okay, fat is a fact. You're fat or you're not. You're short or you're tall. You're brown haired or you're blonde hair, right? So fat is a fact. And so if you're sitting here and you really want to embrace this, I want you to grab your stomach right now. Can you get a handful of your stomach? Do you need 2 handfuls of your stomach? And if you can grab a handful of that tummy, that means you've got excess weight on you, excess fat. So you are fat. It doesn't sound nice, does it? And I'm not trying to offend or upset or get you in a bad, sad mood. I'm trying to face facts, face reality, so that we don't avoid the truth. Because if the word fat bothers you to begin with, if I called you fat, or some stranger called you fat, or some relative called you fat, because we all know the relatives that do that, they don't hold back, they don't have a filter. If someone were to do that, it would affect you to some degree. And there shouldn't be words on this earth or words in your head that affect you in terms of, elicit an emotional response. You should have more control of your frame, and you should believe more in yourself that one 3-letter word shouldn't stir so much discomfort or anger or sadness in you, right? You're fat. It's a scary sentence. It's not nice to hear. And again, not trying to put you in a bad mood here. I'm starting to see people shy away from using the word fat and get canceled on the internet for using the word fat, when really it wasn't in an angry way. Obviously, those people deserve to be canceled who are just not nice. But stating facts, like, we can't get mad for stating facts. We can't hide from facts, because hiding from the truth or letting a word dictate your emotions is way more harmful than being called fat could ever be. Do you see the difference there? And this goes for other words in the language that we are afraid to use because they're too harsh, or it's really hard to face reality or the truth. It's just really hard sometimes. And it goes for other areas outside of weight loss, right? Even in marriage, the word divorce elicits crazy response. I want a divorce, right? That doesn't feel good when you hear that. But just because you said it doesn't mean that's the end. And so what fit queens do is they are able to, will be flooded with emotions on occasions. But what you do is, after those emotions are passed, you can rationally look at the situation and you can say, this is a fact or it's not a fact. And if it's not a fact, you can brush it off. And if it is a fact, you can accept it and not let it put you in an emotional state, because you're like, nope, I'm badass. I'm already working on it. I am fluid. I change. I can be whoever I want to be. And this is who I don't choose to be for much longer. And so I think if you are listening and you are on your weight loss journey and you are serious and you really want this for many, many different reasons, I think you have to add fat back to your vocabulary. And not in a funny, joking way, because we all joke, haha, I'm fat, haha, I'm comfy, I'm cozy, there's more of me to love, right? We all do that. That's our little coping mechanism. Not funny, and not angrily or rudely or disrespectfully, like you're gross and fat. Nope, that's not going to work either. But if we look at the word fat objectively, as a fact, as pure fact, I think it holds more power than dancing around with other words. Because sometimes saying overweight, or saying I need to lose weight, or even obesity seems like that word's thrown around a lot. It just doesn't seem to carry the punch you need sometimes to realize where you are, to give you the discomfort and pain, enough of it to actually want to make a move, or actually want to get out of your rut, or actually want to do one thing you don't feel like doing today. And so I think fat needs to be added back to our vocabularies. And I think we need to be okay with calling people fat. Obviously in a loving, respectful, I'm concerned, I'm worried about you way. I think we need to learn to be okay with calling people fat again. And I think we also need to be okay with being called fat ourselves, by ourselves or by other people, and not get defensive or put in a bad mood. If you're tall and you get called tall, you don't get upset. If you got blue eyes and someone mentions your blue eyes, you don't get upset. If somebody mentions something and we get immediately defensive or offended or upset, because there's some truth to it. That's always how it works. When's the last time you got upset by something somebody said? Whether you're fighting with somebody, you're arguing, or you read something and were triggered. Usually the reason things bother us so much is because there's some truth in some aspect. And the reason the word fat bothers so many people is because they know that it's true, but they feel powerless to help it, right? If I was fat and someone called me fat and I didn't know how to become not fat, it would hurt my feelings. Or I was being lazy and not working on it, it would hurt my feelings. But if I'm fat and I'm actively working on it or trying to figure it out, knowing that you're doing your best, knowing that you're trying, should be enough to be okay with anything anybody says, good or bad. Because guess what? Along your weight loss journey, there's going to be people that tell you you're too skinny, right? You're too skinny. You lost too much weight. Put on weight, eat more, live a little. You're going to get both sides. You're going to get both sides. And if you can objectively face everything that is said to you and be like, yep, this is where it's true, this is where it's false, and then back it up with evidence to say, okay, I don't need to feel these emotions about it because I know that I'm already working on a solution. If you find that you've been very emotional lately, or in a rut, or spiraling in your mind, or back into old habits, you're lacking the evidence. You're lacking the evidence. When you lack the evidence, you become very weak mentally, and it doesn't take much to get in those cracks of that mind of yours when we are lacking the evidence. And so what you need to realize is, and as uncomfortable as it is, ladies, we cannot selectively choose what facts we believe and what facts to listen to. We all know that one person, right? And this happens a lot in politics and religion. There's always the extremists, right? That doesn't matter how much you argue or show them logically your point of view, they don't ever see it because they're selectively choosing facts. Do you want to be known as that person that blatantly ignores and disregards logic, rationale, and facts? Of course not. We all know one of those people, and it's extremely frustrating. You don't want to be that person. And it starts with reintroducing harsher words into your vocabulary in a kind, caring way. Why are we dancing around the fact that you need to lose weight? Why are we dancing around that fact? Why are we so offended and skittish around talking about it? Maybe not to your coaches or your fellow fit queens, but to other people or your spouse or your family or somebody you know who needs to lose weight. Why do we dance around it? Is that helping anybody? No, because now it's making you uncomfortable, not being able to be honest or speak your mind. And it's not helping the other person who needs to receive the truth in order to understand where they're at and make a move. We are hiding and we are sugarcoating. And if you are sugarcoating what you are saying to other people, it can't help but translate to you sugarcoating what you say to yourself. And do you really need more sugar? Literally and figuratively. Do you really need sugarcoating, or do you need honest, brutal facts? And if you want to be more honest with yourself and be able to cut through the bullshit and rewire and reboot habits and lifestyles, it starts with how you talk to other people too. It goes back and forth. And I think we forget about that. And I think, the word fat is a great example because it sounds aggressive. Fat, you're fat. It sounds like really aggressive. And I'm almost uncomfortable saying it because I've been conditioned to think that I'm insulting somebody when I say it. But it's not my job, and it's not your job to not offend somebody or not insult somebody. If you've got good intentions and kindness in your heart and true care to yourself or to the other person, then that's all that matters. And you're going to screw it up sometimes, and you're going to come off harsh sometimes. But weight loss is serious. Being fat is very serious. It is not a joking matter. It is not something we dance around. It is black and white. You are going to get to your grave sooner. You're going to have a poor quality of life if you do not get this out of control. And the faster we can look at it, literally black and white, like you have to do this. You need to lose weight. Otherwise, you will never meet the best version of yourself. Because losing weight is more than just eating healthy and moving. It's more than just a number on the scale. It's the character traits you build up on the way. It's the toughness. It's the mindset. It's the pride that you build achieving something so insane that 99% of people don't even want to deal with. Go step outside right now. Go walk down the street. When you're driving, look in the car beside you. Fat. Everywhere. Everywhere. It's so common. And clearly, dancing around it has not been helping society. The obesity rate is insane. It's shocking. And it's really concerning that that's where, our nation and this continent is headed. And I think the truth and harshness and powerful words, if you use them correctly with the right tone and the right intention, they have so much power for change and impact. And it's how you talk to yourself too. Check the past couple days. How have you been talking to yourself? With intention? With words that cut in a good way? How have you been talking to yourself? Have you been too hard on yourself or have you been too easy on yourself? It's a crazy, crazy epidemic. Literally, this is the epidemic. The obesity epidemic. Whether it's 5 excess pounds of fat or 500 excess pounds of fat, it is dangerous. It is dangerous for your emotional health, your mental health, your physical health. Of course, we all know that one. But do you realize how detrimental it is on your life, your quality of life? And I think it starts with not hiding from it. And that's using the word fat or things like that, right? So I think the first step for you, if you're listening, would be take a second and think of the last time you were offended. Either offended by what you heard, what you saw, what someone said to you, and ask yourself why. And write down the reasons. And then find the truth in there. And then get rid of the false. And say, I need to hear that word more often so it doesn't make me feel this way. Because there's something there. Being called a bad mom. That can trigger us. We go right off. We go on a rant and we list everything we do that's a great mom. Why? Because we believe it. Every mom believes they're a bad mom at some point. So when they hear someone else say it, it cuts really deep. But if you hear it more, you filter through it with logic, then you don't have this hold to these words. And you become so much more confident in who you are. And not just who you are, but the path you are on. When you have an end goal in sight, and you believe that you're actually going to achieve this end goal, you can withstand anything. If you are crumbling, if you are struggling to be strong, you either do not have an end goal in sight, or you do not believe it's possible and have a clear path there. And so it's hard to hang on. It's hard to hang on when you don't know why you're doing it or when it's going to happen or how it's going to happen. But build up your toughness by putting yourself in situations where you get offended, defensive, upset, harsh words, no sugarcoating it. In every area of life, not even just weight loss, seriously. Every area. Hearing other people's views and opinions can be super triggering, right? Where we want to get defensive and offended and we want to, fight back or defend with our words. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you have to be in that feeling more often. You all know that feeling where you just word vomit back because our emotions are high. You gotta be in that feeling more to not be in that feeling more. And a lot of the times we avoid that feeling because it's uncomfortable, because it usually reveals something in ourselves, and usually there's some truth to it. And so I really hope you take away the fact that you can't sugarcoat things. You can't sugarcoat things with other people or yourself. Now, obviously, you don't need to go around offending everybody because you're not going to be fun. You're going to get nowhere, and every conversation will be an argument. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you have to protect your mind, and you have to protect and acknowledge the pain and the unpleasant situation you are in. You have to protect how unpleasant it is to be fat. You have to know that that's not okay. Now, it's not bad, and I'm not condemning you or saying you're gross or disgusting. It is totally the opposite. I'm saying you are worthy of loving yourself fully, completely, and liking yourself. Some people can love themselves and not like themselves. But you have to understand how unhappy you are. And the only reason you truly embrace all of that is by reminding yourself of the consequences of where you're at. And we only get that sharp reminder by using those words that don't feel good. So if you need to hear it, you're fat. Still feels weird to say out loud. It doesn't feel right. I feel like I'm gonna offend everybody. But I know that's not true. I know that logically, I know that that's not true. Still how I feel, but I still showed up and said it today on this call. And so that's what I need you to be doing with yourself. Face these emotions. Don't sugarcoat it. Use harsher language with yourself as long as there's a solution around it. As long as there's a clear next step, then what? Why is it okay to feel this way? It's okay to feel upset and feel gross and feel unhealthy and be sick and tired of it. It's okay to feel those things, but it's not okay to feel those things, be sad about feeling those things, and not have a solution or not be actively trying to find a solution. That's what's not okay. And that's the situation where people get touchy when they're in that situation. Don't be in that situation. Don't be that touchy person. Make your mind a brick wall. Be strong. Your weight loss journey requires strength. So be upfront and honest with yourself. It's a game changer. It's a game changer.